Alex. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation to come here and talk about non-formal education.
Hello, sir.
So maybe we just start presenting ourselves. My name is Asa. I'm director of Intercollege.
My name is Alexey Bornosenko, and I'm professional freelance trainer, youth trainer.
And we have been working together for quite some years now.
A little bit more than 3 years.
Intercollege have used you as a freelance trainer on quite some activities by now. And I see when we have you in our training courses, you have always a creativity in terms of making methods and so on. I think that would be my first question, and maybe what new trainers are thinking about. When I, as a training provider, and you as a freelance trainer, and I come and present a topic for you and say, I would like a training course upon that. How do you start when you are designing a day or a session or a week? How do you get started with this?
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, I would learn as much as possible about the environment, the goals, target group, some possible mission of the organization. I mean, depending on if it's intercollege, it's pretty clear, but maybe it's a new organization. So mission, what are the ideas were on the basis of this training course? And then I'm starting, okay, I also possibly can Google some best practices in some cases. It also can help, it can inspire me. And main idea is to see the path from where participants now, participants learn their background, in best case reading their profiles that they send to the organizers, if they're already listening participants, or imagining this typical background. I can build the preliminary path for participants from the place where they now to the place where we expected them to be at the end. But this path is always just a draft, just a mock-up. Because once we have the participants' profiles, real participants, once we have changes in the situation, once we have latest news, because from the first idea of training course till the implementation, it can take a year, in coronavirus time, 2 years sometimes. Everything changes and all the information updates. So usually I start final preparation approximately 1 month before the actually activity.
And I think that the few people actually is recognizing that, because I know that you're doing that when we're working together already 1 month before, even before you're starting to ask us for participants' application forms and so on. It's a lot of work that is behind this design of activities.
Absolutely, and it allows to make a much better result. Yes. Because you can see who participant can be the expert. Maybe there are sometimes people much better experts than me. Almost always there are people who are in the topic much better than me, who understand the topic much better than me personally. And those people can support, they can share their experiences. That's absolutely awesome. And of course, for majority people of participants who possibly not so skilled in this topic so far, I'm responsible for providing the results, the training course, so the organizing or facilitating. Yeah.
All right. Where do you get the methods or the exercises that you're doing? Where do you get them from?
Yes, I have 3 main sources.
Yes.
One source that are very easy and very easy to achieve is just internet. Open sources. It's a lot of books, a lot of tutorials with different methods, like all those energizer games and ice-breaking games. And I would say that about 50 to 70% of my average middle-term training course are filled with pretty well-known methods like open space or learning space dynamic or word cafe, or maybe all those team building activities and so on, or maybe more specific ones, very famous, like culture of albatross, mock and slipper wheel, mosque and slipper wheel. And those can be found in internet. But there is second very important part of activities of methods I use. The ones that I can find in internet are always not targeted to my group.
Mhm.
Never. I mean, okay, in very uncommon occasions, they can fit to my group perfectly, to my group and my goals and organization profile and mission and so on. But almost always I have to update them. So second big, very popular, like for me, I mean, very, very common way for me. And I would say about 30% of methods I use go this way, but they play maybe 80% of role in reaching the goals of training course. Are methods that have been taken from internet, from open sources, but was updated, adjusted, like somehow set up to my specific goals. So I change names, I change environment, I change the lore, I change maybe the duration, I change sometimes everything except the main idea. So I just adjust them. So,
and that is also what I see. I mean, now I've seen you making quite a few training courses, and I have concluded that you are never really playing according to the rules of the game.
It's always the group that
yes.
decide how should we trainers lead them to the goal.
And when do you see that? Because I understand, of course, when we are 1 month before, your knowledge about this group is limited,
Yes.
and on the first day, you have a little bit better knowledge. On the second day, even better. The third day, better. But how much of your preparation is actually happening before, and how much is happening? How much revision of your plan is happening during the activity?
How much? I would say 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty plausible relation. So approximately 50% of my preparation should be rebuilt, changed, somehow altered, sometimes day before, sometimes in the morning. And I think it's correct because during the day, previous day, I can learn something about participants. I understand what they have learned, what happened to them. If I just mention some piece of news that they have heard from internet during the day, some kind of new meme or something, I can make the method I propose them on the next day more adjustable, more fit to this specific group. It brings them more fun or brings them more useful information. And one of the things, it's a third type of activities I use, like third source of activities, the activities that I design myself. Most likely I design those activities myself right on foot, like during the training course, during the activity, like day before, 2 days before, 3 days before. Because I come to the conclusion that I have to decide something new only if I see that there is a gap. Like, for example, tomorrow or next day, I have a topic and I don't see a good tool, a good method to provide this topic to the participants. Of course, you start with easiest way. I start to Google, I start to find, I start maybe call to my friends. I mean, other trainers, have you heard something about that? Sometimes I even try to post open questions in some kind of trainers spaces, like, do you know any tools how to deal with this situation for this type of participant, this age, and something like that. But sometimes I have no results at all. In that case, I have to develop something new. And in half of cases, it helps. I mean, it's something absolutely unexpected. Nobody, I mean, in the groups there are sometimes people who are pretty skilled, who is 3 or 5 or 10 or 20 other Erasmus Plus projects before. And they are full of all those games. They know a lot of different methods. They see them again and again. The same like repetition of best practices. And here on intercollege training sessions, they can see something absolutely new, and that's absolutely great.
You touched a little bit about this, the daily life of a trainer. I think that's interesting because when we are having trainings together and I see you in action, I also see that you are the guy who goes early to bed in the evening, and then I see you waking up at 4 o'clock, sitting with your laptop somewhere and working. And that is simply preparation of the day in last minute.
Yes, and that's really works for me because usually at the end of previous day, I prepare a high-level plan. In 80% of time, I prepare also low-level plan, so detail. But in other 20%, I still see no inspiration, no vision of specific sequence of words, sequence of activities to provide. And I allow myself to sleep it over. In the morning, I usually have already pretty clear vision. If not, then I have 2, 3, 4 hours before breakfast to find this vision again, to Google again, to start looking for the answer more deeper in the web. And yeah, so.
But I think that's super interesting. I mean, often I think participants fail to recognize all the work that is lying in it. And it could look like a freelance trainer is playing on Google full time, but there's a lot of work the hours before the activity starts and afterwards, and it's pretty exhausting with such a training course. And one thing that I think we should manage to get around is one dilemma I have seen a lot in non-formal education, and that about facilitating these non-formal learning processes where you conflicts are something that you can learn from. The conflicts that can occur between the participants, the tensions that can occur between the participants are often what is creating the learning. On the other hand, a too big degree of tension can turn into a conflict that can be not mitigated afterwards. How do you walk that balance?
I actually don't know. I mean, I have a lot of techniques here. Sometimes I provide training courses about conflict management, and I use something. So I'm trying to find approach to both sides. So it depends, of course, on the let's say seniority or severity of this conflict. I definitely know that any strong tension, any strong relationships that can cause conflicts, it also causes emotional engagement of the audience. And emotional engagement equal to the attention somehow. At least attention to somebody, to something. Maybe not always attention to the things that is projected on the screen of projector, but to anything. And if the trainer is skilled enough to put the object of education, the topic of education in this attention, in attention of the audience. So those conflicts of attention can become the method of education. And later, in one day, next day, I can ask them to recall, for example, remember yesterday you had a conflict, we discussed it, and this is something that, and we explore this case, and they start to understand that, wow, we thought this is just conflict. People just were shouting on one another, swearing with one another. But this is something that we can learn from, something that we can use as an example, and we can next time understand and recognize the situation. And
yeah, just here maybe in the end, just some quick advices. If there is a small organization, a small NGO that is about to make their first non-formal learning activity, be a training course or maybe a user exchange, what would be your advices for such an NGO to get started in with this non-formal education?
Very good question. So many advices in my head. I don't know what is the most important. Build the training course plan in advance and be ready to update it at any time.
So when we're talking about project management, basically, the plan is nothing. It's about planning and always revising this initial plan to fit the reality.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.